Good morning, traders, and welcome back to another week here at Trade the Pool. Of course, we're ready to get to the markets, and down she goes, down she goes. There is one trade I'm looking at right now that I'm a little frustrated I'm missing out on, which is a Corvo short. Was looking at that in the after hours. Should have a nice little $4 winner, but I don't know what happened there. Something cut me out of that one, but I'm looking at it, guys. There's a lot of trades out there that are dropping fast. The Qs are bouncing back a little bit. We'll talk about what happened throughout, of course, on Friday, and then towards the closing action, we'll take a look at what's going on right now. Of course, we got the Moody's downgrade, and that shaking things up, giving us the pullback that we were kind of looking for. So here it is, guys. We'll take a look at the action right now. No positions on, but looking at the SPY, it is coming back down. It did bounce this morning, starting to get the move back. But I think that I don't know if this rally is going to be able to hold on. Are we going to make it a 600 here, or are we going to start the pullback? So I think that we could start a little bit of a pullback to the 9 EMA, cracking the 585, maybe going back towards the 580 and then holding there. I don't expect a big breakdown, but it's definitely something on the radar. All right, we'll see what happens there with the SPY and other action in the market today. I'm definitely watching. This is the one that I wanted to short, but just getting cut out of it this morning. And then you can see how it's starting to come down here. Nice little cut down towards the 74. So good little cut down there on Coreweave. We'll talk about some other stocks making moves out there. Let's get to the playbook. Let's get to the Sunrise report. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get right to it and kick it off. All right, guys, when we take a look at the playbook this morning, we're going to be trying to do some plays that are a little bit outside of the ordinary because we're kind of like shaking things up. Now we're a little bit in the back and forth action. So we need to take a look to see what happens, especially today, right? Can we continue just the strength or shake the negative down catalyst? All right, we'll see what happens there. And then we'll be looking to see here as we take a look at different names that are moving in the market. Let's get to the stocks that we're looking at. First one that we're going to look at is Archer Long. Of course, this one's been on the playbook multiple times since the breakout, right? Since even before the breakout, we were looking for this to break 9, and we've been watching this run to 13. That's a 70% move. Yes, you got that right, guys. 70% move on that breakout mentioned right here on Trade the Pool, of course. Long Archer now also continuing to look at this as we take a look to see if some sympathy from EH, and that's E Hang. And then if you take a look at this one, this is also in play today. I would be watching this one. I know that Archer is also looking good, but this chart looks pretty, guys. I think that we can watch both of these and kind of use them to see which one wants to take lead and which one wants to kind of hold on, right? So of course, got approval in China for flight, right? For the same thing that Archer's doing, right? Evolve. And then we got to see what happens here. It's Bank of America initiating the coverage as a buy. So we got to see what happens on that. But I think you watch to see if Archer can continue lifting on that as maybe the next one that gets approval, right? So we'll see what happens with this sympathy, and we'll look to see if it can make the push with EH. All right, let's go to the next one here. One that I've been talking about on the playbook, Snow. And I'm going to continue noting it. It's been slowly just grinding up on the 9 EMA, now going sideways the last couple of days. Let's see if it can break back through the resistance and continue going higher as Zscaler has continued going higher. And we're taking a look at these cybersecurity names. CrowdStrike has been a name that we've been talking about. PanW is a name that we've been talking about. And we'll look to see if they break the 200 and start to keep going. Cybersecurity, an area, of course, that will be seeing more strength because of AI in the long run. We'll see what happens there. And then, of course, taking a look at the thesis of maybe a pullback day and then a little bit more of a liftoff in the VXX. What I'm looking for is a cut down right here at the gates towards 53.74 and then a recovery back towards the resistance, which would be a move to 55. We'll see what happens there in the VXX. Will it be a pullback day off of course, a negative catalyst coming into the markets, or will we just continue to ride higher? We'll have to wait to find out, and we'll take a look at different names that are out there and continuing hot. Of course, I have my watch list. I think I have 34 names on that now, so we can keep a watch on stocks that are the hottest in the market. And just to mention one that I've been playing on the downside, if I would have been swing trading it, man, I would have woke up to some big profits as Ethereum pullback. Look at that pullback. I've been playing this 2 or 3 times last week, and look at the pullback overnight. This thing closed at 61.21. And it's down there towards 54. So nice little 6-point move there, and Ethereum down. We'll see what happens with Bitcoin and Ethereum as we get towards the open. We'll talk about that. Let's get to the Sunrise Report and talk a little bit about what's going on in the market and what stories are out there, what stocks are moving, and why, of course. All right, team. Of course, stocks are under pressures. The futures were dropping this morning, and we'll take a look to see if they can continue bouncing back. But they did drop, of course, sharply after Moody's downgrade on U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA, right? And we'll see what happens there as it's rising federal deficits, challenging refinancing debt in a high-rate environment. Yeah. I mean, we all know the debt that's here in the United States. It isn't going down. It doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. Pre-market declines were out there, right? There were stocks like Palantir that were down a good amount. There were stocks like Tesla that was down, Nvidia that was down. And you guys know I tried to get that Coreweave. I didn't get the complete position on, but I mean, that was an also decline. We saw some declines out there, right? Some pullbacks overnight. Of course, this was all led by last week's rally, of course, off of the China post tariff deal, right? And now we got to continue to watch China as we got some negative news. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but let's keep it going. Political heat also happening here in Walmart. Let's go to Walmart as Walmart and Trump get after it. And probably not the thing you want to do, right? I even saw some advertisers say they were going to drop Walmart because of Trump's battle with Walmart. Trump telling Walmart to eat the tariffs, of course, and slamming the retailer for price hikes. Walmart defending its pricing strategy, citing thin retail margins. Of course, Trump was saying that Walmart makes billions and billions off of these, and they don't need to raise the prices. Well, Walmart's clearly telling you that they do. Believe who you want to believe. But we all know what the truth is, right? I mean, let's just keep it going. Tariffs are going to cost you some more money at the grocery store. So if you think the tariffs are good things, well, you probably won't be thinking that after you start seeing your grocery bills rise and other things start to rise. That's the major concern, of course, inflation. I've talked about it, and I put out a tweet on my Twitter. There was kind of the expectations for inflation are going towards the moon, guys. I mean, if you take a look at the 12-month U.S. inflation expectations, the latest University of Michigan survey spiked to 7.3%, the highest level since 1981. So definitely not what you want to see there, guys. Of course, this is the chart here. I could show you guys that. That's a crazy spike there. And shout out to Charlie, of course, that put this out. I did the retweet on it, and you can see that highest since 1981. What will happen there? Inflation concerns. That's what we need to continue to watch here. Of course, and AI infrastructure having some conversation. Let's go to NVIDIA and talk about NVIDIA and Qualcomm announcements. NVIDIA's major AI announcement at Computex 2025, CEO Jensen Huang unveiled NVLink. I'll call it NVLink Fusion, connects non-NVIDIA CPUs to NVIDIA's GPUs. So pretty much it's just a kind of a connection for their GPUs for AI. New partners, Metatech, Marvell, Synopsys, Cadence, and some others, right? And Qualcomm including, right? Because we're going to talk a little bit about Qualcomm. There's the Grace Blackwell chip, the GB300, the next gen an AI system launching Q3. I mean, these AI chips are just going to keep coming out. They're just going to be different names. It's just like the GPUs. They come out every year. And yet there is some computing increase, but it's not too much. It's nothing out of the waters, but we'll continue to watch this. DGX Cloud, Lepton, new marketplace for global AI GPU access, new Taiwan headquarters, and AI supercomputer partnering with Foxconn. This is important news. I think this is a big news if they're really starting to go away from China, right? They're trying to make things go to Taiwan. This is news. news indeed to watch for, right? As we continue to see NVIDIA battle. Qualcomm re-entering the data center arena as they're launching custom AI CPUs to work with NVIDIA chips. So we'll see what happens with Qualcomm. This is one that I was watching to see if it do a breakout. So if you're looking for the market to have a good day, this should definitely be on the playbook. We'll see what happens with Qualcomm if it can get a move above 153, but it's focused on ARM-based architecture versus via 2021 Nuvia acquisition. So essentially, it's custom AI CPUs to work with NVIDIA chips. It plans for data centers in Saudi Arabia via humane AI partnership. So more conversations about Saudi Arabia, right? Now, one thing that we did see, of course, last week, we saw Trump make kind of those trips to the Middle East, right? And kind of getting, of course, a bunch of these CEOs to come. I think that you'll start to see more and more deals come out of that conversation. All right. And of course, NVIDIA was in the news as it was denying sending designs to China. So the Financial Times reported about IP's transfers to the Shanghai Research and Development Center. And NVIDIA said that no GPU design or export controlled IP is being shared. This could be big news if it actually came out that NVIDIA was sharing designs with China. That would be a massive negative, of course, but right now it's kind of getting poo-pooed and it's not even a focused story, but I think it's something definitely to watch. NVIDIA is down a significant amount overnight. We'll see what happens with this, if it can get the bounce back. Of course, a lot of this on the Moody's downgrade, but there is some news out there to keep an eye out for. Of course, Evolve air taxis take flight in China. I talked about it already on the playbook, but getting approval in China is something definitely to watch. We'll see what happens with this one, if it can break above 20 and make a breakout above that. Of course, they did get a price target. Bank of America put the buy target at $26. So pretty ways away from here, 36% higher. Expecting 2025 deliveries at 442 units, growing to 813 units in 2026, backed by national policy, infrastructure investments, and first mover advantage. So we'll see what happens there, as U.S. rivals Joby and Archer are still waiting for FAA approval. But may this approval actually help the U.S. rivals? That's why I would watch Joby and Archer to see what happens with those, right? Joby Aviation, Archer, and others. All right, we'll keep going with that, guys. Of course, the market reaction to the downgrade and whether the yields will stabilize as the TLT is in the dumpster. And this is scary, guys. This is not good news here. I know that there's a lot of bullish action in the equities, but the bonds are showing something else. We'll talk about it with Michael Noss to see if that's a concern. And we'll take a look to see what else is going on in the market during the show. Let's kick it off. Let's get to the trading action. It's time for Trade the Pool, guys. Start that countdown. Hit the likes. Let's get it started. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
All right, traders, let's get it going. Let's bring on Michael Noss. What's going on out of the black and into the green? What's going on, man? How we doing? Good morning to you. Did I lose Michael? You see that? That is out of the black and into the frozen.
Yeah, I should go back. In there. No, things are doing well, man. It's a great time to be a bull. We got a slight pullback to buy, and it's looking great out there. It's like you wake up one day and everything's green when you live up north.
That's how it is. And we'll see what happened out there. What do you think first, of course, of the negative catalysts that are out there and the TLT reaction?
Well, if you go and take a look here, and I just did this over on with our friends there at Trader TV. Yeah. So this purple line is the last time the U.S. debt was downgraded, and slight pullback, and then amazing. And then also This one was the time before that, a very slight pullback, and then a rip. So if we're going
You had the
to
2008 downgrade though.
yeah, well, that one,
That
I
one might
forget
have
where
been a
that one
little
was.
bit further of a drop there.
Yeah, so but in recent history, no one cares. And we're definitely not in 2008, right? There's no
No,
one's
yeah,
losing their
there's no
jobs.
financial
There's
crisis just yet. Just yet,
nothing.
though. I don't know if you saw my video I put out on YouTube. Holy crap, that scared me. We'll talk about that during the show, guys. Well, I'm gonna bring this video that's gonna blow your minds, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I think it depends if they downgrade while the price is going down or if they downgrade while the price is going up, right? This to me, if you want to slap on a tinfoil hat, because we talked about positioning a lot, right?
Mhm.
And nobody's long this market yet, right? So everyone is. So the new COT data came out. We talked about this, where again they can't hide this. That's right. They can only put in their. Let's just do that. But we're focusing on the red line. The commercials are long, right? So the guys who know what's up, but we're still net short for the speculators. So they covered a little bit into this rally, but not too much. And most importantly, they're not long. So
Mhm.
the market is still flat to net short this market. And imagine you're sitting down across from an investor who says, okay, the market's up. Why are you flat? Why did you sell everything and didn't buy back? And you have to kind of explain yourself. So those guys really need to catch up. So the
Yeah.
fact that we have sentiment still in the dumps, we have positioning still in the dumps. Again, if you want to really put on a tinfoil hat, you say, maybe they tell their buddies at Moody, say, hey, can you spike this down a little bit? I need to buy a little bit here on the cheap. I don't know, right? I'm not that into it that I think that's what's going
Mhm.
on. But the fact that we have been getting bought up all morning, right? The pre-market kind of happened right here, and there's just been this relentless bid at VWAP every time we hit VWAP, makes me think this is probably just a non-event. It's just a nothing
Okay.
burger that we're going to forget about. I do hear you on the bonds and the
And the TLT's chart is scary here. I mean, in long
but
term, don't worry about the 5. Look at the monthly.
but it's
This
one of
is
those
starting to get scary, man.
and this is where, so the question is, right? This is where Trump flinched before, right? So we know that
Yeah, in that
Trump,
area.
we've got the Trump bid, right? So now we've got the market barely down, and the bonds are at the area where the most powerful man in the world got scared and decided to pump the market. And he's got a lot of levers he can pull to pump the market, right? They just got to come out with we got another trade deal, or we figured something out, or just
It's
some
past that level, really.
tweet,
Where
right?
he got freaked out was over in April 11th, low
Yeah.
85. We're at 84.55. We already broke that this morning on just a gap. And what I'm just noticing is just this sheer uncorrelated action between the TLT and the SPY, and it's just starting to get stronger and stronger. Can this relationship continue? That's my question here.
Well,
Like, really.
it's going back to what it should do, right? If you read in all the textbooks, it's supposed to be market up, bonds down, right? So maybe we're starting to normalize that because there's been a lot of people really hurt when that relationship broke, right? A lot of people, they have a portfolio of stocks and bonds, and the whole
Exactly.
point of it is that bonds are supposed to cover you when stocks do poorly. But we haven't seen that for years. It's been stocks up, bonds up, and it's
Yeah.
completely broken that relationship and hurt a lot of long-term investors. So if that's going to break, it might be painful in the short term, but I think that's a good thing. What I'm looking at this is so we know none of the institutions own enough, right? We know that uh, sentiment is in the toilet, and we know that generally speaking, downgrades aren't that big of a deal, right? And the large majority of times that happen, not that big of a deal. And then we've got the most powerful man in the world probably waking up to phone calls saying, "Hey, man, we are down to where we freaked out when you removed the tariffs. It's time to tweet some good stuff about removing tariffs." So I look at all of this as like a potential floor for what's going to happen this week in the market. So for me, I'm a dip buyer, right? That's just kind of what I do. That's what my systems do. But yeah, I look at all this and say, there's so many of these perma bears that I have. They're getting so loud about us retesting those prior lows that it makes me think that we might even close green today. That it's just that dip might be the fastest dip we've ever seen.
All right, we'll wait to find out. I think the big concern for me in the long run is just we can't make that TLT move from 2020's downfall. And it just seems like from that moment, this has been an epic collapse in the TLT. I mean, since 2020, it's just been just like if I didn't put the TLT, it would look like a penny stock to me, or like one of these ugly charts like Beyond Meat or something like that. And something needs to change here. Something needs to kind of adjust this. Even in a bull market, we couldn't get this to kind of change. We made it go up about 15%. And then now in the recent kind of downturn, we're already giving up that 15% that we kind of pushed up. So we'll see what happens with this. I think it's something it's like a longer term outlook kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and I would
be a concern in today, but just something to continue to watch.
Now, right, I would also say I don't think we need bonds to go up in a bull market, right? If bonds go up in a bull market, that means rates are going down in a bull market, right? Rates should go down in a bear market. That's the whole point. So we dropped rates a little bit. I think it's more and you know the textbooks would agree. We like this in the bond market. If we just hang out here and do nothing, that's what the stock market likes. The stock market doesn't like the bond market changing quickly because it means rates are changing quickly. So you got to think about it. If you are a institution and you look one day and rates are 5%, the next day and rates are 4%, and the other day they're back to 5%, that's the environment that is really, really hard to plan for. If Apple knows, if you were to be able to pull out a crystal ball and say, okay, Apple, for the next 5 years, interest rates are going to be 4.5%. They would be absolutely fine with that. Like, okay, we just planned, we got a lot of cash. Well, that's making us 4.5%. Great. Away you go. I think the worry is the speed, right? So if you go to TNX, this is what charts the increase of the actual rates. It's the speed of this that we worry about. So we need to see if rates, they don't need to come down, is basically what I'm saying. They just need to chill out. We just need to move sideways a little bit, and then I think everyone will be happy again.
All right, let's get to some stock action. Of course, I'll let you take lead. Let us know what you're looking at out there in the markets, Michael, and then we can maybe, once you're done, we'll touch some small caps.
Sure. So I am still very in my long-term personal account, still very long UNH, like we talked about. Was buying some here, was buying some on this date. So my average is, I think, like 270. So that's working great. I'm actually thinking of pairing a little bit off, but this is meant to be kind of a long-term position. I like that the CEO put his money in, right? He's kind of a little bit of a vote of confidence, but a little bit of a snapback rally. So it's to the point where I want to lock in some of those gains because they're so good and they happen so quickly, and then just put the rest away somewhere. But for the short run, it's setting up for the short system, right? Where we're seeing some of these blue arrow prints come through here after spending the whole day just ripping above VWAP. So I'm going to watch this one here in the open. Looks like 304 even is an interesting place. And then 306, right? So I'm going to watch that zone, but just to see if we get another kind of mean reversion set up. And then maybe this NVAX as well, because, right, this is a very bad stock overall. And it's actually doing, so you can see this has been tanking forever. And then we're bouncing a little bit here, and we're bouncing into resistance. Now, the problem is I had a whole bunch of stuff on the list that I had to remove. So like NVIDIA, I wanted to buy that. My bot bought some in this area, but the market's not open. Everything's ripping before I can get a chance. So I will watch these, and maybe if we sell off before the open, I guess kind of like Tesla here. If we sell off before the open and then we start to bounce back through, I may look to take these, but I'm very much I want to fade this gap. And simply because, again, the amount of bearishness out there on something that I think is going to turn into an absolute nothing burger, I think is super interesting. So yeah, I'm looking to see if we get a little bit of a dip off the open and then rip back through, which probably means we'll do the opposite, just knowing my luck. But yeah, we're down here on Tesla. But again, most of these things have been bouncing so well off the open, right? And I would have rather kind of bought this first dip through VWAP and then been selling here, but it is what it is. The market just kind of went without me. So we just need to see what happens here to the SPY. If we can end up holding these gains and moving higher, then some of these trades will be interesting. Again, I've got 2 shorts in case we do fall apart with UNH and NVAX that I want to watch.
All right, is that it? Any other one?
That's it. The problem is, right, I had a list of like 10, but then the market's just been grinding up all morning, and it's like, okay, well, they all triggered. So what do I do?
Yeah, that's the hard part. The morning trades, right? It seems like we're getting a lot more action in the morning than we do in the intraday, and that's one thing that I've been noticing more and more. And that sucks.
I think it will continue, right? As we get, we know that by the end of the year, there's going to be like 3 or 4 live 24-hour markets. I think we're just it's gonna blur the lines more and more. Ooh, a little down tick there. I don't know what happened. Do we have a news thing that just happened?
No.
That was a little acceleration just out of the blue.
I mean, I'm on the bear side. You know what side I'm on right now.
But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like any follow through. Maybe that was just a bit of a push down.
I think that's this 15-minute resistance right there, right? I mean, you're seeing it come into play right into that 15-minute resistance. And if there's any way to catch the pullback move, it's to also get some bulls in this morning. So we'll see what happens. I think that we're still on market pullback. And the reason why is that we need this. We need this to pull back to kind of reload for the bulls. So I say we at least test the gap between Monday the 12th and Friday the 9th, which we have a gap there. And I say we go into at least coming towards that gap. That could be the SPY back at 580 and then coming right back into sideways consolidation. So that's where I see the SPY heading towards right now. We'll see what happens. That's just a 90 EMA pullback into a little bit into the gap, puts a little bit of some worry, but it really is just an opportunity for buys to come back in. And I think that we've had the momentum rally for a couple of days, and Palantir this morning tells me more and more, yes, we're on the momentum breakdown. If there's one name that definitely made sense to swing short, it was Palantir and like HIMS over the weekend, and you're making tons of money on that trade on both of them. So that tells me more and more this is a momentum breakdown, and I don't think it's just going to ramp right back up. It's going to come to cut those traders, and it could cut them right now in the pre-market. Really put the pressure on the bulls right here. We're already seeing the markets give up a lot. So we'll see what happens if it cuts 586. That's where I think you're going to start seeing the bulls start to wash out and start to be like, well, maybe this is a little bit of time to make sure I take the profits. Because if you didn't take the profits on Friday, guess what? You coming in today on some of these names, and you just gave up 6 to 8% of your profits. So what does that make you do? That makes you get scared that you're going to lose all your profits on these big runs. You can look for some other maybe players to come and play into some momentum. But to me, the ones that are the strongest are the ones that come down first. And we're seeing that right now. So we'll see if that can continue.
Yeah, now that we're selling a bit, I'm going to go back to those that I've taken off my list and maybe add them back because some of them may be finally breaking under VWAP. It's one of those things. China US chip export controls undermines consensus reach, and I don't know. So it looks like this is a news. So it looks like there was a little news event that came, just more tariff stuff, right? The thing that I think is everyone getting so desensitized with the tariff stuff, knowing that it was just a game. It was just a negotiation ploy, right? That the second things looked really bad, just completely undid them. So I don't know if tariff news is really anything anyone cares about anymore. I think it's more actual fundamental data. So that makes me think that this could just be again a flash in the pan, but we'll see. We won't know until a little bit later.
Yeah. I think we need to get through the 90 days first, because we don't know if Trump would to turn it right back on, right? That's still an option for him. And I think
and the market's pricing in that he's not gonna, right? That's what
the market's definitely pricing that in, because if he were just to turn it right back on, we're right back down through the lows. So this is the problem here. This is the biggest problem, Michael, is that we're not getting any clarity on fiscal policy. Nobody knows. No, and so the bulls are just betting that we're just going to stay optimistic. I can't blame them. The bears are betting on economic data and slowdown. In the long run, the data might actually win out. That's why I'm still a little worried. That's why I showed the inflation concerns. That's why I showed the slowing down. And then I showed the higher auto delinquencies and higher credit delinquencies. There's still some problems out there. Now, the key is Trump is keeping the gas pedal on the market. And as long as that doesn't change, I think we continue to trade that way. But we got to watch the economic data that comes in to see if inflation shows up. If it shows up, we haven't yet seen that. I think that's what we're going to continue to watch. That's why last CPI report also reacted more of a positive, because we're not seeing those numbers show up. But I asked all economists, no one expected tariff inflation to show up in that report. We're not looking towards tariff inflation towards like July. And that's when we'll start to see that start to show up. So that's what I would start to look at, is the later part of the year. And right now, we're still riding this heavy wave to the upside. What you got for us here?
See, I thought this was hilarious. So this is the inflation expectations, but broken down by party. So if you're Democrat, you think there's going to be 9% inflations. Also, if you don't like Trump, you think there's going to be a 7% inflation. And if you're Republican, you think there's going to be 1% inflation. So it's just like one of those. It shows that
it shows the extremeness. It shows the extremeness, right? And I mean,
and it shows it doesn't have anything to do with what the data is. It has to, you know what I mean? It's like people are solely looking at this and saying, if I don't like him, I think there's going to be a lot of inflation. And if I like him, I think there'll be no inflation. So these are the numbers I get a little bit kind of worried about, where it's like, okay, you have to, this is the spread between the two of them, right? And you can see right here, when Trump got elected, that's when the spread flipped. And then it's just gotten worse since then. So that's why I'm with you, where it's like, just ignore all this and wait for the actual data.
Actual data needs to show.
Because
that's what needs
to, so biased.
That's why I'm still in the camp that we're going to stay bullish until we actually see some of this data, right? That's why I'm saying that the economists are stating this, the bears are stating that, but they're stating it, right? It's not shown up. And I think that that's what we need to get through. We need to get to that first 90-day. Is it going to turn into a 180-day pause? That's what I think could happen also. Like there's like, I would give that 75% chance than the tariffs being turned back on, right? Probably about 25% chance for the tariffs to get turned back on. And I think that we just end up pausing, trying to do deals. And the truth is, there's not going to be many deals done. I think that the tariffs might stay where they are right now. And if they stay where they are right now, it still will be inflationary, but maybe not as bad as expected, right? So somewhere in the middle. I do see inflation going up. Maybe it's not the 8%. Maybe it's not the 2%. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle of that, right? That's the way I like to think about things. The middle is always the median outlook, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. The fanboys are probably wrong, and the doomsayers are probably wrong.
Exactly.
So, probably, somewhere in that area.
3 to 4% inflation, right? And I think that that's what we could look for. That's what is keeping Jerome Powell on the sideline. We got another comment this weekend, of course, Trump, downing Jerome, saying that he's doing the wrong thing and that he needs to be cutting rates. He's not cutting rates anytime soon, guys. I would be surprised if he cuts rate this year at all. But then again, I was one of those people that was stating that last year, and we did get 2 cuts, but I mean, those completely disappeared off of that. We're supposed to get like 6 or 8 cuts last year.
Well, I think that's one good thing about the TNX actually rising like this, is that it gives him more of an excuse to cut, right? Yeah. When the market is pushing up short-term rates for you, because everyone needs to remember the Fed only controls the short-term rates. There's long-term, median, and long-term. They don't have any say about any of that. So if 10-year rates are starting to push up, that just gives him a little bit more flexibility to say, okay, well, I can cut a little bit just because rates are already high, so I don't need to affect the market too much, right? So if he's targeting like a 4% 10-year yield and it gets to 5%, then he goes, okay, you can cut a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean he'll cut 1%. means he'll cut like 0.25% just to signal the market that yes, I want these at this level. So it all depends what level he's targeting, because yeah, if the rates are way up here and he's looking for somewhere in this area, then he can cut a little bit, and that should keep the boss happy and then also keep the market happy as well. So
Wow. I'm reading some news out there of Regeneron's deal with 23andMe. See that deal, Michael?
weren't they bankrupt? Why are you doing a deal with a bankrupt company?
They're buying them out
they're
of
gone.
a bankruptcy auction for $256 million. Regeneron said it will comply with 23andMe's private policies, applicable laws in respect to use of the customer's data. But that's the interesting part, is what in the world is Regeneron going to use this data for? And it just goes to show you, hey, you give your genetic data to a company, you might not be happy where they give your genetic data in the long run. And
that was a big worry, because yeah, they go under if someone buys them. They buy the data. So yeah, there's a big lawsuit getting prepared just to say, hey, I gave you my data. Now the company doesn't exist. Where does it go, right? So
yeah. So that's going to be, of course, the big talk. And there's 15 million customers who have had that data given. So that's a lot of data. And what does Regeneron want to use it for? Let's be honest. It's for mRNA research, right?
Yep.
Learning more and more about genetic research, and it's worth it to them, right? There's a reason why they're paying the fee, right? It's not a small fee, but it's something that they can go ahead and build off of. So 256 million, yeah, we'll write that down. Let's go ahead and go after it. We'll see if Regeneron comes down on this. I would expect them to come down on it, but it's not. It's not even taking a hit.
Hilarious. They went for after the bankrupting proceedings, which probably still means that shareholders get nothing. So,
right, they get nothing. They don't get it. They don't get a single dollar back. Probably they'll have to go through bankruptcy with 23andMe to try to get some of that money back. But
yeah, and then there's still the Bed Bath & Beyond people that think they're going to get rich, but that's a
did you hear? There's actually a new CEO for Bed Bath & Beyond. For Bath and Body Works. Sorry, I confused it. I just saw this headline just recently. Looks like a Nike executive going for that one. That's BBWI. Hey, there's a bunch of executives changing over here. Gotta keep an eye on that. That seems like a nice trend right now, where a lot of companies are looking for new executives. That's something to watch, right?
If your stock looks like this, fire them. Right, it's just the way it works. Get
someone new in there, man. Maybe they'll change it up. All right, guys, we'll see what happens towards the market open here. It's 9:25. We got about 5 minutes left here for the open. We're going to take a look to see what's going on. Can we get a bounce back on the day today? Will Moody's bring the pullback in? Of course, we've had already a small pullback. It really came in after hours on Friday. We'll see what happens with the downside action. And Friday was a good example of like an easy short, I think, after hours, right? I think that you could have came in many different stocks. And this is why it's important to sometimes pay attention to the news that comes out right before the close, because, man, it just seemed, by the time I saw the news, I was a little late to it. And I still was able to create like a short or two position that ended in the green. But I think those are opportunities, man. And especially for the futures traders, they were probably cashing on those downside breaks like that with the news break. A lot of times news isn't something that you can really capture the money, but I think that was an easy trade on Friday. And the reason I like talking about those is that you get these every now and then. An easy catalyst where the market was already looking for an excuse to pull back. It got the catalyst it needed. I was talking about it. When's the negative news going to come? As soon as I read that headline, I was like, that's the excuse the market needs to pull back. We'll see what happens today. Do you trade after hours like that, Michael? I don't know if you've ever tried that on days like that.
I took a little pop there. I had my phone with me and I had a little bit of cash. So yeah, I took a little bit of a pop in and out. Obviously wish I had kind of held until the close, but
yeah, that's
just one of those things. It's not a strategy that's going to like feed you in the long run, because news events like that are so rare. But you're right. It's good to be on your toes, right? When
Yeah.
you see something like that, that's, again, I showed you the last 2 times it happened. They were 10 plus years apart. So when you see a massive event like that, that's really interesting. Again, I'm waiting for the 24-hour markets, because imagine being able to buy when they did the deal for China, right? What was that, right here? Imagine being able to trade in this area. That seemed also like a no-brainer. That you probably could have taken a good little trade off of.
Yeah,
But
same
speaking of
thing, right?
24
After
hours,
hours, I agree, because I think in the long run, one thing that we're gonna maybe start seeing more and more is traders going to the pre and after hours trading.
mhm.
And yeah, it won't be considered pre-market and after hours trading anymore, but it's still that session, right? And I think that that's something that you might see more and more as traders search for they search for returns regardless of the liquidity sometimes, and that's something to think about.
Well, and retail traders are always trying to avoid the institution guys, right? So,
Yeah.
and you can do that. They don't, right? They're not turning on their systems until the market opens, and that will
Yeah.
probably remain the same even when there are 24-hour markets, at least for a while. Eventually, it will all even out, but there ends up being, it ends up being super interesting. Now, what do you think of this this kind of Bitcoin pump and
Mm,
dump that we had on? Were you watching this on the weekend? Everything
yeah.
looked amazing in through here. We
Little
took
wild,
2
man.
shots at those and then kind of fell apart after that. This was all way after the Moody's news. It's way after everything. We had a little rally, we came back down, popped again, came back down. So it looks like we were looking to break out of this base that we've been in for 2 weeks now. And then we got a little bit rug pulled. So we're back down to the low of it. I know there's a lot of people that were disappointed buying that breakout.
Yeah, it was a good breakout. It also got announced with an MSTR. Your nice little scam brought out another $765 million that they were going to buy. And that news came out, and that kind of really started hitting it hard. Also, I think this is kind of more of a matter of, you have to be looking long term when you're buying Bitcoin. I think we keep using it as an indicator for the market. I was telling you guys just last week, I was saying I'm going to look to see if Bitcoin can lead the pullback because it led the rally. So I'm looking for it to lead the pullback. Let Bitcoin break down through 102 today and then tell me that the market follows that. That seems more like the indicator to read here. We'll see what happens, guys. Market's open. Let's get after it. Let's see what we can do. I'll be watching for it. I'll look to see if Bitcoin doesn't break that. And I think that right now, the level for me to watch in the pre-market and going to continue towards the open is, can the SPY clear 589? If it can clear 589, I think we can ride back higher. If we don't hit that spot, I'm still looking for pullback shorts.
Tesla, I'm watching here, already triggered right off the jump. Right off the jump for Tesla. The SPY rocketing a bit, getting to pre-market highs pretty quickly off the opening drive. So see if that's something that ends up holding there, and looks great so far.
One of the hottest stocks, I tell you guys to continue to watch it, is Coreweave. That's one of the hottest stocks in the market, guys.
Yes,
That's been a crazy move in that one, guys.
Coreweave, that's CW
CRWV.
RWV. Yeah, nice little pop there in the 2-day VWAP.
Look at the daily on Friday, man. I was talking about this on Thursday, and look at the run that it did on Friday. Big run, big run. And why? Well, you mentioned anytime OpenAI and NVIDIA partnerships. Yeah, that might just help you.
Yeah. That's those are the names you want to be talking about for sure.
Dude,
especially
imagine
in this
you
market.
have both of them in your books, literally in your books. That's not a bad company in the long run to own, and the classic IPO move. I'm just looking for pullbacks on this thing. If it gets back to 60, I want it long term, but right now it's riding the wave.
Little reversal there on Tesla. I haven't taken that one
at
yet.
589 right on the dot. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Looks like we've broken through pre-market highs and then just put in a little bit of a wick. So got to those pre-market highs, wicking out, pulling back a little bit. So the question is that a kind of liquidity grab move, or is it just still making its way?
Yeah, I find it hard to find the dip buys right now for me. So maybe that's just your play out there, guys. I can't blame you for going after it this morning, if you do. But I do see some dip buys out there. They're potentially setting up Palantir, Hims. They ripped, looking for dips now to get it back in. But I'm not. I'm probably staying on the sideline at least for the first 15 minutes here. I need to see the Qs play out a little bit here. So there's Hims back at VWAP.
It's trying to get through here. So we pulled back a little bit for the SPY. Now it looks like we're pushing through. That's on this QS is interesting. QuantumScape.
Yeah, QS.
I don't think it's an actual quantum name, but big surge up yesterday on Friday, and now it's pulling back into that range. So I'm going to watch for this one to see if it can reverse back through VWAP there.
That's a battery player, solid state battery player.
Yeah, so the SPY, second attempt at this 589, pulling back a little bit, but looking overall good there. Holding that, but the Tesla just falling apart. So Tesla, I'm going to put this one back on my list just because now if it gets back through, I'm interested to take that next green arrow alert just because it's a little fake and now it's coming back down. UNH triggered off the open. I missed that one, but I am watching it here just to see if it can get back through this 300. This one, again, I'm torn on because I'm long it in one account and then I'm looking to short it in the other account there.
Yeah, we got a question here from Big Me Time. I'm sorry I missed this a little earlier, but I want to answer it for you. I'll take the time at least. Where can I get some good scanners and things like that? Well, in our partners, you have options there, right? In our partners, you have Trade Ideas, you have Benzinga Pro, and then you see me using TC2000. You see Michael using a little bit of some Trading View here. There's so many scanners out there, man. We have another option for you right there in our partners with TrendSpider, right? There's plenty of options, guys. I would say that you have to determine what's the speed that you need these scanners to be, and then that should determine how much money you want to spend. That's the question that you need an answer to. So it's more of what you use in your strategy. Right? If my strategy was a higher day breakout penny stock strategy, I'll tell you guys I'd be on Trade Ideas. But since I don't need that speed, I don't need that kind of level of scanning, I can go ahead and use my TC charts that I already pay for and use those scanners, right? That's another thing, right? Determining on how much money you can spend for programs and things like that. Benzinga Pro, right? That gives me news, that gives me charts, that gives me scanners. Maybe that's just the one you need, right? You got to find what works for you and how you can keep going, right?
And there is a video coming up on the Trade the Pool channel that I did last week or so, just on that same topic. And I start with the free ones because I talk about how, right, you try the free ones first, and then if they are lacking for you, then you go and you start to pay after that. But you're right, especially when you're starting out, you want to keep your costs down as low as you can because they're just going to eat your returns. So Tesla's coming back through. I'm going to take this.
Tesla.
Take this right here. So stop below the day, targeting 2-day VWAP. I just like that it did this little flush earlier, came back down to touch or got nowhere near the pre-market lows, and then put in this green arrow alert right here. So low risk. I don't know. Maybe I'll get stopped right here right away, but just taking a couple shots. The only other one I'm watching is NVAX.
All right, guys, seeing this PTIX just chop around here at the VWAP. It's interesting to take a look at that one. It's slightly above VWAP here. It could start to really cut down here, but it's been one of the highest flyers of the day. Protagonist Therapeutics. Yeah. If you guys can say that one, we'll enjoy it.
Sure.
All right, we'll see if it cuts 8 here. It looks interesting for the cut down through 8 and actually going down towards like 7. It's been strong all morning, and I feel like it's already had a good run. We'll see if it gets hit here at 8. Boom, right there. Got hit the 8, down to 780s, down to 785. Now I'd be looking to see if 820s recovers here. That could be your squeeze level on the upside. You saw it went right to 820 there, rejected quickly right back to 790s. So I'm watching to see if it recovers 820s here. We'll see what happens. Cut down and to close below 8 could be that break here. We'll find out.
We are not doing a whole lot, but we're grinding higher here on this 2-minute chart. Every dip so far today on this 2-minute chart is bought. We've got the 2-day VWAP all at 592. That would be kind of hilarious because that puts us well into that range. And we're at this low that we were. So we are now above Friday's low. So
yeah, one thing I noticed is what's leading today, healthcare. The bounce back in healthcare is happening right now. But if you look at that chart don't look great, right? And that's another thing that I'd be a little bit concerned about. I see more red than I see green, even though we're going up. So I'm still looking to see if we get a pullback.
Yeah, I have some Lilly, and then of course UNH is a big component to that healthcare. So the fact that that's bouncing did not end up taking the short there. It's holding on so well.
And I'm just driving back.
Just watching this market. I got my Tesla. That's just not doing anything, and then just waiting for the SPY to give some pullback or something. This will be hilarious if we just rip green today. Every single bull is just, or bear is just going to start crying. We should put out like, I don't know, a mental health hotline or something for all the bears out there if we keep ripping like this. And we don't really have anything today, economic news, but I'm sure you went over this. What is it? What's the date today? 19th. Everybody is speaking. Fed Bosick, Jefferson, Williams, Logan, Kashkari, and then tomorrow they're all speaking again. These guys just cannot shut up this week. So no economic numbers that we care about, but just a whole bunch of yapping going on with these guys. So stay tuned for one of those days where poor Walter Bloomberg's fingers are going to fall off because he's going to be just tweeting about, this is what this guy said and this is what that guy said, and hilarity all around. So
all right, guys, snow is on my look for the playbook. We'll see if it gets through 184 today. Pull back to 180, held there, now holding 181. Doesn't look too bad off the 181. The risk on that 180 to 185. It's about 4 points up, 1 point risk. Not a bad look there. And snowflake.
And then so my Tesla grinding up with the market. I wish it was kind of outperforming the market, but it's underperforming. Nvidia was the miss, right? This was again, I have some on my personal account just because it bought through with the bot right here, but all the way hitting 2-day VWAP already. Massive rip on Nvidia. Very, very strong for that. Very, very strong for semiconductors, almost closing the gap. So semiconductors about to go green. SPY is now only down. It depends on what you look at here. So 0.2% from the lows in the futures from that cash close, and then 0.6% here. But everything's looking good. Dow's only down 0.3%. Apologize if you hear screaming. The kids are okay. It is just a holiday up here in Canada. It's Victoria Day for any Canadians that celebrate. Happy Victoria Day, where we celebrate Victoria for whatever Victoria did. So,
who's Victoria?
Old Queen. I don't know. We just
Queen like Victoria. There you go. Let her go. Let her go.
Good.
The Queen.
Good
the Queen.
Good for her and all the things that she did that I don't. It's like St. Patrick's Day.
Royalty, bro. Royalty. That's all we gotta say. Royalty.
I have no idea why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but I do it anyway. So
Qualcomm,
that's why you'll hear screams.
Qualcomm looking interesting off the news, of course, has the news. It did do that VWAP recovery, kind of did that dip there, gave you a nice opportunity to get in there. VWAP's, I have it below towards like 150.60. It's holding pretty well. Maybe get back to 152.
Yeah. 152.26. That's the 2-day VWAP.
Yeah, and the daily looks good there to hold the 90 MA. If it can hold that 150 pullback, that looks pretty good there on the daily chart.
Nice, very nice consolidation action there. Yeah, nice little bull flag.
It's so far everything's
everything's looking great, right? So again, we have semis above everything, above Friday's low. Pretty much everything now is above Friday's low. So, you know, unless you short at the top, you're still doing fine. If we go look at the daily chart, right, we are above Friday's low. Looks like we might be on the way. The thing that's interesting, and I'm actually running a study on this now, is days like this where the open and the low are pretty much the same. Now, a lot to go into today, right? This obviously could change at any time, but the preliminary testing is actually really positive when you have a day like that, that the candle. So here's kind of the opposite, where the open and the high are the exact same, and it closes like that. You could short the next day and have a pretty good trade. So again, just something I'm looking at, and so far that's the pattern we're seeing, where the idea is, do they just buy it right off the open? And so far, holy smokes, they bought it right off the open, right? From that kind of fake out low in the pre-market to now, we're already up about 0.6% with the 2-day VWAP right ahead, and they're buying them. That's kind of new highs for the day there. So they're buying them up.
All right, looking around, guys, looking to see if we can stay in the positive tune or not here towards 10 o'clock. That's when I'll start to get to the point. If we're still green there, then probably we continue going higher. I think I'm just waiting here. There's just too much still choppy out there in the charts that I'm looking at. But the big boys are holding up well. Momentum names still choppy out there.
Yeah, Nvidia is just on fire. Whatever news happened there. So it's at the 2-day VWAP. UNH is triggering again. So I may actually take it here and just use a high day stop. Let me do that real quick here. So this is kind of what I'm looking at on UNH. Short there with a stop. I'll probably just put it over those highs. So that's a 3.5 to 1 risk reward. The idea being that this is already off its lows, 25% off its lows. Might want to come in, fill a gap, take a breath after you've rocketed 25% from your lows. Right, that might be a good time to take a little bit of a breather here. Come back in just a little bit. Again, this is the cool thing about having multiple accounts, because it's hard to do when you've got, I'm long for a swing trade or a longer term investment, and then I am short now on a day trade, and it's really cool, but it's just mentally, this is one of the benefits of being systematic, because it's mentally kind of hard to do. It's like half of your brain is rooting for the day trade to fail so it can rip higher, and but so you put out your trade, you put out your stop, and move on with your life, right?
PTIX halted on the downside. Alexandria said it's glitched. It's just halted, my friend. It's not. And so it did do a little fake out there at 840s, a little bit higher than I expected, but then finally did cut 8, and it was a fast cut towards 7. So there it is.
Not ideal, because it didn't even try. It didn't even try to challenge pre-market high. It just fell. So it just kind of
one of those where it's a pre-market runner. That's it. It was a pre-market runner. By the time it got to the open, no bueno. Another thing was it was up pretty significant too. We're looking at this small one that is holding on well. This thing's been a crazy ride. FAAS. That's a penny stock if I ever seen one. 19 cents to 60. Can it get to $1 today? Can it get to $1, man? That's a crazy run right there. Up 210% right now. We'll see what happens on that one. That one's definitely moving out there. Even the Molinator is moving out there. Definitely seeing some small ones out there moving. And just to name one more in the small caps to cover them all, SYTA, another one that's looking pretty decent here, at least in the $3. This one, I believe, a little bit more. Had a closing spike that came right in this area, so maybe $3 or 290s on the pullback. We'll see what happens there on SYTA. I
know I am usually the bull. I'm usually bullish, because it usually makes sense to be bullish. But this is starting to become a bit of bullshit. This is another one. It raises $100 million in capital to acquire Bitcoin. How many of these really crappy stocks have we seen run this same gambit of, hey, it's working for MicroStrategy.
Look at
why don't we
ASST. It's working on them right now. Look at the chart. It's ripping again here. ASST. This is a stock that came from 80 cents. It's back up to 780s right now. The dash for trash is real right now. We are
But
dashing for trash.
Bitcoin's down. Bitcoin's down from Friday's price.
They don't
They
care,
own
Michael.
Bitcoin.
They don't care. They don't
Yeah,
care. They're just, this is what you call just relentless buying. Relentless, right? Relentless.
And this is what we talked about when they're under positioned. They got to buy. They can't wait. They have
They're not
to
going to
buy,
make sense.
right?
They're not going to make sense, but that doesn't matter right now, right? That's where I think a lot of times we have a problem. We have a problem as humans. We try to make things make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Things don't make sense. Let's stop trying that. We try, then we try trying to do more of that prediction game versus just realizing what's happening. Is that things don't make sense in the market a lot of times. There's sometimes you're going to trade a stock that trades at an unbelievable valuation. But the truth is it doesn't matter. Because no one cares.
It's all supply and demand and sentiment.
Yeah.
That's it, right? It's all supply and demand and sentiment. So
QUBT,
that's just showing that it's that's just the way it is. And yeah, but it just reminds me of, like, I remember when 2018, everyone's like, oh, we're going to use the blockchain for this and use the blockchain. And then they would get these insane, they would just triple overnight and then kind of fade a little bit.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right, we'll see what else is out there. Looking around to see what else is taking a look at.
It's PTIX. I'm just waiting for this one to reopen. It looks like it reopened. To be honest, usually if the first move's a gap down, I expect something a little bit more disastrous than that. So it didn't hold that gap down too much. So not saying that that's bullish, but just saying that it's interesting anyway. Generally speaking, these things just kind of fall apart entirely. Just again, going over and looking here at the market, we're now only down 0.5% on the SPY and well above Friday's low. We're getting close to the 2-day VWAP, which is sitting around 592. That could be obvious resistance there. Dow is only down 0.1, so, or 0.2% on the Dow. So Papa Dow is leading the way out. Q's down a little bit more, but just look at the relentless bid on this market. Just absolutely relentless. Like, again, I feel like I should put out like a perma bear helpline.
I mean, we did cut down overnight, though. I mean, we're still below those highs.
A little bit.
I mean, if you shorted the close, you're still up.
Yeah, you're up. Well, yeah, depending on what you shorted, but yeah, you're up less than 0.5%. And the entire country got downgraded, right? If that's all they can do, that is an insanely bullish sign. We talk about it all the time. It's not the news. It's how the market reacts to the news. And right now, the market is saying, I don't care that you downgraded our country. I don't.
I mean, it doesn't matter until it breaks, right? Like the downgrade doesn't matter. It's just more of a sentiment outlook. But it matters more when you actually start to see delinquencies. That's going to be the real concern. You know what? We're in a low of the market. I don't see too much trading action going on. So might as well bring in a video to kind of distract things a little bit. At least for me, at least I'm definitely on the pause. I'm just going to wait until past 10. We'll see what happens here. We're staying on a trend, right? It's just stair step higher. We'll look to see if the trend changes. Big watch for me, Palantir and HIMS to see if they rip out. Palantir trying to make the breakout towards 127, just to at least mention a stock that's doing well in a direction to see if momentum can continue to push. Man, I've been the other day I was just like looking at just annoying TikTok style videos that just come up all the time. But then one actually caught my eye. And I was like, you know what? This one actually might make sense to actually pay attention to. And I think that we got to continue to watching how things are developing out there. But I'm going to bring one in here that I think is really interesting. And I just got to share the audio. Just give me 1 second here. So I got to reshare here. Audio on. Let's do it there. Boom. All right, let's put up the screen again. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but there it is. You guys should be able to see it. So this someone was asking people at this. I think this is a car dealership. That's one thing I'll just preference, right? But look at
Yeah, I've seen these. Yeah, these are they
look at
find the
this, guys.
dumbest people out there to troll on.
I
These are
will
hilarious.
say they find the dumbest people, but I've been seeing more of this. More of this.
Is your car payment?
Mine is $1,325.
And what kind of vehicle is that?
It's a 22 Ford Raptor.
Okay. You have another payment?
I do actually. My wife's hers is $1,000. It's a 22 Ford Expedition.
Oh my God.
Hey ma'am, what is your car payment?
$1,386.
And what kind of car requires a $1,386 payment?
A 2022 Grand Wagoneer Series 3.
Hey sir, what is your car payment? I got a couple of them, but the first one's $1,445. What kind of car is that? That's a new GMC Sierra 2500.
I like the car. Don't like the price.
It's a wide body CPSV. That's $1,161.
Bro, what's your car payment? And what kind of car are you driving?
Look at that number right there. That's my car payment.
$100. Well, there it is, guys. I just wanted to bring that in there. I think this is the kind of scary thing that I'm seeing developing here in the United States. And I think that with car delinquencies at their all-time high, that's why I say I'm concerned there about being a financial crisis this time, not necessarily on housing, but more on auto loan delinquencies, because something has to give here. With housing not coming down, the pricing in housing not coming down, sticky inflation there, with autos prices going higher and tariffs now going to make those auto prices even higher, right? Then you have autonomous coming through in the short term, which is going to cause prices on cars to go even higher. Something has to give here, guys, and it's a little bit crazy, guys. These people are obviously
They're all working at a car dealership.
Yeah, that I mentioned that the person said beforehand, but they're not the only ones that have $1,000 car payments, guys. If they're the only reason they have those payments is because they literally bought new cars. Go look at anybody that's buying a new car. They're not paying $500. The average car price right now for a new car is over $700 a month. And that's for cheap cars. I've seen it. I went to the dealership. I go to the dealership to do oil change all the time. And I see the sticker prices right now, and it literally makes me scared shitless.
Well, it looks like this is the average outstanding auto loan debt over time. It's increasing, but it's gone up double in the last 10 years. And what's inflation in the last 10 years? Probably about the same.
I look at the price. Man, because I bought my car 2019. Sticker price $28,000. That same car at $28,000 is now going for near 3 times the amount, Michael. 3 times.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, again, I'm looking for a car right now. They're definitely high. I just don't know if it's that bad. And it's just like what you need to do is you need to take this chart and inflation adjust it, right? So what's $1,100 in 2015 today? If that ends up being $1,600, and that's both the same payment, right?
Yeah.
So it ends up being
the biggest concern, I think, is also it's not necessarily only price, right? It's interest rate at these levels too, because you're not getting interest rate levels at what you used to get interest rates on cars, right?
Yes.
And so that's the problem too. And 1% on interest rate makes a huge difference on a monthly payment.
And that's right. So maybe Trump's right. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those things. At least that part of it, the interest rate part of it, that is easily fixed. The value of the car itself, that's not easily fixed, right? You can't just wave a magic wand and lower the price of cars, but at least the interest rate, they can definitely lower. Because I'm both the same. I think we've priced out a 7-seater because I live in the middle of the woods, need a big car, all that kind of stuff. And it was lease around 800. Now it's 800 Canadian, so that's 6-ish US. But yeah, they're definitely getting up there. It's just one of those. Is it a lot, right? So it's up. So everything I'm reading saying 2 years ago was around 550, and now it's around 750. So with inflation, still definitely up, right? Inflation hasn't gone up that too much. Yeah, the average loan amount's 40,000. So that's your problem, is that your interest rates, they got to drop those pretty significantly.
Yeah, Shijak talking about a story in the chat there. You guys can catch it there, but I agree. I mean, it's a shock if you haven't bought a car in a couple of years and you see the prices now. You literally were gonna be like, I don't know if I want to ever buy a car again.
Well, and
I'm gonna
that's
have
why
to,
tariffs make no sense, right? Is because that's, you need these cars built as cheaply as possible, and if that happens in another country, who cares? Or very much the parts. I think in a lot of cases the cars are assembled in the US. It's just each individual part comes from somewhere else, right? So then you could look at, what is it, Advanced Auto Parts.
Yeah.
Like these
AZO.
guys. AZO, thanks.
I got you, my friend.
Yeah, so that's probably why. It's probably why their chart looks like this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, man.
you want a place that prints money.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm at the point where I've already made the decision that if I do go on a road trip, I am renting a vehicle. That should show you how much I want to save my vehicle on mileage. And that's why I work from home, guys. I don't think people realize what working from home can really do for you. And I'll tell you one thing. It saves a lot of miles on the car.
Yeah, I've always said you'd have to pay me so much. And before the pandemic, I started working home in 2014.
It's a big lift. It's a big lift to work in an office. If you want me in the office, it's going to cost a little bit more because the car just gets deteriorated, right? Let's just be honest. You're driving it every day, 40, 50, 60 miles, some people, to get to their office, and it's not good. It's not good on a car. But hey,
e-bike it. Yeah, you come up to Canada and I'll put you out there in February and tell you to e-bike somewhere.
Go to Colorado and go e-bike in the frozen and on ice. Trust me, I've seen enough scooter incidents.
Oh yeah, if you're in California or something, yeah, go ahead. We don't have one car. I'd be totally fine with it. Up again.
The reason I don't like the e-bike either is because I don't trust people on the road, man. I can't trust cars around you. They're trying to take you out.
This bid is relentless.
But we're going sideways a little bit now towards 10 o'clock. So I'm watching for the turn. Let's see if we get a little one here. Candles are slowing down. And that is concerned.
Just update. I'm again still in my Tesla. I'm not very happy with the underperformance, right? If the market turns, this is going to tank. So I'm up a fair amount on it. So I'm just going to put a stop at break even at this point, just because dramatic underperformance. And then UNH, I'm still in. You can see it's challenged my stop a couple times. Hasn't hit there quite yet, but again, so far this seems like these are very hard markets to trade. And this is why me and Mitch are just shooting the shit, because it literally, the market opened and just ripped. So unless you bought right off the open, there's not a whole lot to do, and you don't want to be chasing it up here. But at the same time, this isn't a trend you necessarily want to fight. So some sort of a pullback or consolidation or some more price actions required. And then again, I say it all the time, but you could hear it in the prop firm that I worked at when I worked at a physical office. If people are talking about, the game, if people are just hanging out and throwing, we had a dartboard and a putting green and all that. If people are playing with those, then it just means the market's like this, and you're just trying to almost distract yourself so that you're not aggressively trading into this, because guarantee if you buy something right now, it'll probably be the top.
Yeah, I agree with that 1000%. And there's a big reason why I'm also not shorting at these levels, right? It just doesn't make sense, both sides, right? We need to see which way the market actually reacts here. And that's what I'm watching for. We'll see what happens. I think it's kind of interesting. I think what we're seeing here is kind of big boys holding up the tape. Continue to watch the big boys to see if that turns. So you're looking at your Nvidia, you're looking at your kind of Qualcomm starting to climb back. You're looking at your Meta that's having a really nice climb back today. Your Microsoft, you're looking at that having a climb back. So keep watch on the big boys. If the big boys let go, I think the market will. But Apple's even coming back. That should tell you something. Google, of course, after even the negative comments that keep coming out on Google search, you're seeing it lift. Well, that just tells you more and more. What are you seeing? You're seeing those rotations. So continue to watch the big boys. The big boys can still hold up the market, and the rest could come down. So just continue to watch that. That's at least what I'm seeing. And that's why I think we're up today. It's not necessarily momentum names. It has more to do with the big boys holding things up.
Yeah, it looks like we're at least going to challenge green on the day. We're now down less than a quarter point from the close, and the close was the high of the day. We are well into yesterday's range, right? So unless you bought the absolute top of this market, you are up money and doing fantastically. So that does a lot for sentiment as well, right? When the market comes in and if everyone goes, oh, I'm so worried about Moody's, and it just rips off the open, it really helps. There's nothing but price to change sentiment, right? And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
All right, guys, seeing a dip here on SYTA. You're going to look to see if it can recover $3 here. It's an interesting one. It just undercut 3. This is a small cap stock that I've been kind of keeping an eye on. It doesn't look bad here. I just wanted to see if it could recover 3 here on an undercut of 3, scare some traders out. It went to there really quickly to 185 or 285s. And now let's see if it can hit maybe 280 really quickly back through 3 is what I'm looking for.
UNH looks like it triggered again. So got very close to stopping me out, but I'm about even on that one. And then TSLA starting to move a bit. Again, just really underwhelmed with the performance of Tesla considering how everything else has been doing. But both my positions are now very slightly positive, so I'll take it. Right?
Yeah. Gotta take it when you can get it, guys. Long hymns for the scalp. I see the trade at least. It's not a bad looking trade. You did get an undercut. Let's see if you get the rally. That chart's not looking too bad. Hymns off to 63s and then the undercut on the 6150s. Not a bad looking chart. Wish you the best of luck, Big Me.
White House on Moody's. Trump disagrees with assessment. Oh shit.
Hold on a second. No, the eggs are up 200% and have come down 97% or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, he disagrees. Okay. And then the only other thing is that there's China will cut deposit interest rates on Tuesdays. On Tuesday, sources say. So that could be an FXI, it could be a BABA play. That's just a couple minutes ago here from our boy Walter Bloomberg. This BABA chart, I'm not gonna lie, is looking pretty good here on intraday. It's come right back up to the high of the day. It's just been basing there for a period of time, but I got to put that in context and say, well, the whole market's ripping, right? So
yeah,
just know, there's been
buy program.
Yeah, this is definitely a buy program. And again, you can just for the audience, you can tell just because every dip is immediately getting bought up. These guys, they can't buy as we break out to new highs. They have to buy on the dips. So every time you see a candle and the candle comes in and closes green, the next candle comes in a bit and closes green, just over and over and over again. Again, this just shows that they are still not positioned correctly. They're just not. They're we saw that in this week's data where they didn't buy the futures. They're just not long in the futures market. So until we start to see that, I don't think this stops because it's all positioning and the big guys are not positioned well. Again, I love that this was such a huge win for retail with the SPY seeing the largest retail inflows near the bottom of all time. So people just put their cash to work and the institutions didn't. So for once, it doesn't have, there's a big spike. For once, it turns out that it's the little guy that got the win up on this crash, as opposed usually you see retail outflows and then you see institutional inflows, and you saw the exact opposite this time, which is super sweet. But look at this absolute rip.
All right, guys, took a little bit of the SY TA there. I'm long at the 301, looking to see if it can break back above 3 and kind of spike towards the 340s. So it's about 40 cents on the upside right now, about 10 cents on the risk here. We'll see if it cracks back down. If I do need to get out, I'll get out for a little bit, look to see if I can get back in. But for right now, looking to see if it breaks 3. SYTA. Hims there, getting that little spike there. There's your opportunity there on this quick scalp there, Big Me. So I hope you are able to cash in on your trade, man. We're always here rooting for you guys.
Undercut and rally there, right?
Yeah, it was a good look.
Hit the lows and just popped right back through.
Yeah.
Everything's getting close, going green here. We're now green on the Dow. So the Dow is now up on the day and hitting new highs from this little base. Even with UNH being a large component there, we have the Qs getting very close as well. We have the SPY also getting very close. I'm looking for a tweet to tweet out to the perma bears if we get green. I'm trying to find like a helpline or something to give them, because again, the amount of oh my god, the world's going to come to an end that I saw on Twitter on Friday night just had me laughing. No one bothers to study history. They just want to think that everything's bad. And then we get moves like this.
We will see. Overall, I mean, it's still not a big move. It's just kind of hanging in there. I think that's what you're seeing right here is just a kind of a hang in type of move. You're seeing the higher lows trend. The bars are still small on this on these candles. The smaller actions happening, right, guys? What we're seeing is stair step, right? No longer big bars on the SPY. We're seeing small bars, and we're just climbing the wall of worry. This is why I think it's important to continue to stay with the 9 EMA as long as the momentum can stay in. Yes, you can play quick pullbacks, but it shouldn't get too bearish. You should just continue trying to ride momentum. That's what we're seeing out there. And the dash for trash is real. That's for sure. At some point, that shows topping signs. At some point, I think we are going to just have a hard pullback. But the question is when? It doesn't have to happen now.
Yeah, it doesn't have to anytime soon. You can get, again, until the positioning starts to show us that they've started to buy the market. Right, that's the time that I'm like, okay, now that everyone's in, we can start to potentially take the other side of the trade. But again, we are seeing no positioning at all, like flat from the institutions. So net, the large speculators haven't bought any stock. The commercials that are usually right, they're in, and again, the commercials are the guys you follow, right? And the large institutions are the guy you fade. But they've been doing so great. They were shorting at the top. They started to cover the bottom. They got net long somewhere in this area right here. And again, the large speculators have gone from being long at the top to now short as things are ripping. So until that flips, I'm going to remain bullish, because again, it's just positioning, right? It's the big guys, they need to buy, and they're going to be buying at higher prices.
Dust getting a nice little push there. We'll see what happens on the duster today.
I still have my GDX XD here. I don't like holding, especially these triple leverages this long, because I feel like I'm just going to get chopped away from the natural degradation of this thing. So I may take this and flip this into either shorting the GDX or doing maybe dust that will do a little bit less. So I'm in at 4, and it's just been right basing here. Gold is definitely coming back in. Nice gap up this morning, as again everyone got all panicked, and now it looks like it's coming in here. Just to summarize the day trades, we got UNH up a tiny amount, and then Tesla starting to go my way finally. I'm supposed to be holding up until 345. I'm likely probably going to chicken out a little bit here just because that's what I do, and then try to hold the rest. But it's recovering now, a little bit of a laggard, but definitely recovering now with the rest of the market. Now down only 2% and off its pre-market lows by over 3%, right? So if you look at the SPY and you go from the pre-market lows until now, we are up 1.5% in a straight line off the lows. That is a pretty significant move there, just in that kind of buy action. Definitely buy program-ish for sure. Because 1.5% straight up with no breaks is a lot.
All right, let's see if SYTA wants to break 3 now. It just approached it there. It should get the lift there. It should have enough volume with the 10,000 share volume that went through there. So watching it now to see if it comes back to 292. If that does come back to 292, there's some size there waiting. So I'll probably just go ahead and cut out, but looking for the break above 3 here. Hard to be patient with the crazy penny stocks. Just got to do it. Yeah, you got to always be patient with them. I think that's the number one thing. Another thing is just like kind of finding the patterns that are working. In the penny stocks, that's what I think it's more important. It's about finding patterns that work. You'll find that there's times where these penny stocks repeat the pattern. Different stocks are doing the same pattern. That's where you make money in penny stocks. That's why I talk about how the key with penny stocks is going towards them sometimes and then going away from them sometimes, right? Like literally not taking the trades for sometimes until you start seeing multiple 100% runners and momentum back in them. That's why I think it's very important. When penny stocks are really running, we usually see that there's 4, 5, 6 different names throughout the week. It's not just one.
Yeah, so first actual pullback, I would say, right? 45 minutes into the day. This is the first time that we've seen more than one red 2-minute candle in a row. So this is the first price action that gets kind of interesting to me. So then the question is this just bought up immediately? Or do we test, now that we've broken through the 2-day VWAP, maybe we test the 2-day VWAP from the other side. So that gets us down to 592 and then maybe a bounce from there. So the first pullback is always the most interesting part to me, because it just shows, do they buy it aggressively, right? Is it like, oh, finally a pullback I can buy in, or is it something that where people start to take profits because things are pulling back? So this first little action right here, this is the most interesting part of the day to me, at least a little bit.
All right, guys, got the break I'm looking for now. Just looking to see if it can pull back to my entry here and then really start taking off here. Let's see what happens. SYTA starting to lift there. Boom. Now towards the 1313s. Let's go. Let's go. Let me see if I can get a pullback fill. I'm still rising up the limit, trying to get a pullback fill, not trying to jump on the offer here. That's going to cost me if I do that. But I'll look to see if it can break the high of the day towards 350s. If I get that, that's already good enough money for the day. So don't really need the ad. Just going to make sure if I do get the ad, it's at a good level. So essentially underneath the 1-minute low, I keep throwing it up. If it breaks that 1-minute low, I get the fill. And I'll look to see if it just goes back to the offer. We'll see what happens on SYTA.
Just going through, right? UNH, I like that it's underperforming. I like that it's going down when the market is going up. That's obviously what you want to see. So I'm liking that one's doing okay. And then Tesla is doing great as well. So I did pair some off as we got up here because I'm a wuss. So then again, I'm going to just target the 2-day VWAP on the rest of this, which wouldn't even put it flat on the day, right? Because the 2-day VWAP is always going to be below the high of the day. So if we can get to that price, I'll be super happy there. And then UNH doing well here as well. So again, just everything's going well. Just trying not to mess anything up. Because
I got my ad there, guys. I'm watching it here, guys. I'm looking for the breakout here. If I can get it, it would be great for it to hold 3 now. I think that's what I need to be watching for. It could slightly undercut 3 to 299, but I shouldn't see like 295s or 290s show up here. So now just looking for it to really run. We'll see what happens. The pattern's there. I like the pattern there. I really do like it on the kind of the 1 minute. You can see how you kind of did this kind of flagging action. You pulled back. You now put in a nice trend line. You got to see the throwback look to see if it can hold this throwback area and then go higher, really with a move back above this 13-14. Let's see if it can do it right here. It's okay for it to dip slightly towards 3, but I'm really looking for the break above that 13-13. We'll see if we get it.
New highs. So that dip got bought immediately on the S&P 500. Two-minute down candles, and buyers came in aggressively and shot us through highs. Now we are up 0.3% on the Dow. SPY is only down 0.1%, 0.15%, and the Q is only down 0.2%. And we are well within the prior day's range. Just again, buying immediately off the open, now up like 2% from the pre-market lows in pretty much a straight line. Sorry, 1.2%. And on the Qs from the pre-market lows, we're up 1.5% or 1.75%. So almost 2% up on the Qs, just showing the buyers they are strong. Anyone who shorted, the bad news, they're getting rolled over now. They're starting to lose money. We are now pretty much through where the Moody's announcement happened. So soon it's going to turn out to be buying downgrades to the US is a good thing. So it's there's more news about, I'm just looking at the news. Really nothing's coming out except Russia, Ukraine stuff, which I don't think really affects the market. This GEV is looking very interesting here.
That's one of the ones on the long term, man. I
look at this.
That's a good long term name, man. All right, guys, got a spike there in SYTA. Looking for it to continue through this 13-14. It hit 13-15. Now this is the big watch. Can you break 13-15? At this point, 3 could be a cutout. But looking for it to kind of give you that break. If it goes to the 330s and 340s, I'm good for the day. So I'm looking to see if I can just get this one trade in, one trade out. Let's see if I get it.
Yeah, this that GEV does look, just looking at it from the daily chart here, looks like we could be close to a breakout. Nice little bull flag. Didn't participate in this morning's gap down hardly at all. Just showing very, very strong there, and then just pushing up pretty much immediately. Bitcoin is not going that crazy compared to what we've seen there. Definitely off its lows and pretty significantly off its lows. However, Ethereum has been well off its low, and relative strength in Ethereum is not something I think I have said in years, but we are seeing that. Solana underperforming, which is just unusual compared to what it usually is, where you have the complete opposite thing happening. So I think if this goes green today, you're going to get one of those flushes as we go through that, as the kind of last annoyed bear hits the button to get out of their position.
The Ethereum move was an interesting one. I mean, those were good shorts last week. I just wish I would have swung it short. I mean, man, that really got the bonus, the Moody bonus, we'll call it.
Yeah, but it's just like, look at it now, right? It's both flat on the day.
I mean, the bulls are in. The bulls are back in. The Ethereum bulls, the actual bulls are back in, and that's what matters. That's what matters more than anything. I think it's important. They hit 2 targets on the upside, so it made sense to see some pullback. So I'm looking for now the next big drive. That's why I said watch Bitcoin, guys. Bitcoin's going to tell us. Bitcoin's been a good indicator.
It's a great risk-off indicator, right? It's great.
Right now, it's a good indicator to read, especially when we got that deterioration where we went uncorrelated for a little bit, and then we got to this point where the Bitcoin started ripping, and then we went back to correlation. Was it a move where in the downturn, maybe some traders went to safety in Bitcoin? That would be interesting.
I think that was the case because gold was so high, right? That you
Yeah.
couldn't, people weren't interested in buying gold, so they're thinking, where is where is the where do I put my money? Because bonds were tanking, stocks were tanking, gold was already ripping, so you kind of miss gold. And now you have this going on. So this chart's interesting. This is Ethereum over Bitcoin. So if the chart goes down, it means Bitcoin's outperforming Ethereum, which you can see is usually the case. But we've got this massive pop here on the other way around, where Ethereum's really outperforming Bitcoin over the last week or so. And the rate of change of that has been pretty crazy. So again, yeah, it's rare to say relative strength in Ethereum. Ethereum's been the dog of the Bitcoin market for a while now, but that looks like that might start to be changing at least a little bit. Taking a look just here on the markets, and we are just getting even closer still as we're hitting new highs.
SYTA just put a little scare there, and that looks good now to risk off of. So I know where my risk is. It's down there to 293, and I'm looking for the breakout now. It did that liquidity scare out right there. So that definitely shook out some hands. I'm seeing them fold. Let's see if this rips now. Looking for a rip above 320s to take some off there, and then I'm going to take a little bit off there and then look to see if the remainder can really run.
Yeah, it feels good when you have those kind of fake out scares and you're able to hold through them, and buyers come in right after. It just tells you that there's somebody waiting, saying, okay, as soon as you dump, I'm going to buy your shares up there.
Nope. I'm trying to sell some here at 320s, and let's see if I can get the spike into the 320s, just at least secure a win on the day. But key is every time I put it on, it seems to slow down the tape a little bit. And that could also be just the sizing that we have at 320, 318. So 318, big watch if it shows up to see if we can cut that. There's an undercut already back towards the 3. It seems like we're just chopping around here. So we got to be a little bit careful. It is trying to chop traders up. So just putting it out there, SYTA, it's gotten the opportunity to make the run. That was a lot of volume coming in it fast. I need to watch it here on the bigger time frames. It needs to clear 313. That's where it keeps struggling.
SPY slowed down a bit, pulling back just ever so slightly here.
Yeah, dust pulled back. That gives an opportunity there.
I'm taking the rest of my Tesla here just because, again,
Tesla.
risk. Great trade.
I can't blame you.
Right?
It's a good trade, bro. Good trade.
Big push up from here. Again, the target's supposed to be the 2-day VWAP, but I'm just looking at it, and we had the first pullback in the SPY, and that got bought up immediately, and then it started to pull back again. So it feels like we could just be entering into a range. I don't think, saying max pain to roll it all over, I don't think that's the case. I think it might be one of those, we found kind of our new price, and that's where we're going to hang out. And again, the reason is just, again, the positioning. One of the best use of times is just to look to see, are they long? Are they short? What is the positioning of the overall market? And right now, they're not long enough. So again, until they get long enough, I think we're going to see this kind of relentless bid. But it's already gone. I told you the Qs are up 2% from their lows. So that's a huge move. So some sort of rest or pullback or some sort of consolidation, maybe a retest of VWAP down here, that would make sense. Some sort of dip to buy into, but just crazy move. It just shows you the move is not to open up the news and say, oh, the US debt was downgraded and short for any more than like a very short-term scalp. Is you just can't trade off of what the news report is. You just can't, because
I would disagree with that. You just needed to be on Friday night, because if you were on Friday night, like I know a trader that made a lot of money on Friday night because he was ready. And he always trades after hours, and that's my man Dennis Dick out there. But
but Dennis is also he was out the second the market opened up this morning, right? So they have to be really short.
You have to be smart. You have to be smart. These are short-term catalysts that you got to jump on the momentum move, right? At the end of the day, you can't fight the trend for too long, though. Always don't fight the trend for too long. You can short against trends. The key is being quick. If you're short if you're contrarian, you need to be faster to the money. That's one thing I would say.
Yeah, and that's proven out with the data as well. What I'm talking about is the people who opened up, who
Shorts
sit down this morning and
this
start to
morning.
read. They're reading, oh, this company reported earnings last night and all this stuff. Everything is so priced in so fast that,
So
if you're
fast.
not there at the moment hitting the button,
Yeah.
you just ignore it entirely. And then those are the two ways to do it, is to be a guy like Dennis Dick who's always there.
Yeah, and I think
ready to
Fridays
go.
after hours leaves a little room there because there's barely rare institutions traders anywhere near the desk. There's retail traders that want to get out, they want to go enjoy the weekend. Who's watching after hours on Friday? I'll tell you, my man Dennis Dick is doing it. And he's like, well, you know what? Those are the days where I can do really simple trades. The market has a tendency of doing this in the intraday, and then all of a sudden an overnight into the closing, it does something completely else. And you can make a lot of money on that. We have that opportunity at Trade the Pool. This is why I'm mentioning it, because there is an opportunity there to cash, right? And then there's also the opportunity to go contrarian an overnight move that you're seeing change. That's what you could have done with the conversation this morning, right? You could have said, well, I think the overnight action was bearish. It should have been, but in the open, they'll shake this news and go long, right? That's why you saw some opening buy. That's what the buy program was put on right out the gates. And so it's things to learn from. I think we can do both of those trades. We could have short the after hours and understood that this morning, probably the Moody's news isn't the biggest negative news, so probably could get bought right back.
Yeah, and I just wish we had real-time positioning data, because now we got to wait a whole week for the COT data to come back and tell us.
Yeah.
Because there's there hasn't been enough contracts to tell us that they haven't gotten back in. But yeah, it's obviously the most beneficial on Monday when you have fresh data and it's real time and you know exactly as of Friday's close, everybody was still short. And then the question is, how many of those people have covered into this move? That's why I know a lot of people who trade the COT data, they trade Monday, Tuesday, and then let those trends kind of develop throughout the week, close on Friday, and repeat. Just because, there's a lot of people that we know were caught on the back foot, and they're in a lot of pain right now. So this thing could, I think, go much, much higher. Talking about Max Payne with Shockwave there. Yeah. You got to sit down across your clients and they say, hey, why are you flat when the market is just ripping year to date up 0.4%? If you are down money this year, you are doing something wrong. Yeah,
and I think that's definitely what's going to be pressured out there, and that's why I'm not in the money managing business, because that could cause you to make the really wrong move at the wrong time. At least that's just what I think. That can cost you your career if you play it the wrong way. If you just chase, right? That's where I'm a little concerned of, because I think that at this point we're getting chasing and a bunch of it. All right, guys, we'll see if I do get stopped out of SYTA. I think they're still trying to shake the range here. So I got to give it the range that I'm willing to give it, which is about a 115 loss here. Even though I'm back in the green right now, I just got to understand that I got to give myself a little bit of some range here to let this stock work. But at the same time, also have a protection stop at this point, right? I'm in the green right now. But if it comes back, it's going to be a sweep down. So you just got to be ready for it. There it is. I already put the stop there. I put 12 ticks down. I put 289. Let's see what happens here. I could also cut some size right here at 3, but it's just, I think this is just going to be the trade of the day, because I'm not seeing anything else that I want to go after, right? Unless I see a bigger breakdown of the SPY in the afternoon, I'm probably just going to take it simple and take this one trade, and we'll see what happens.
I think that's the move, right? So the message to the audience is, right, don't chase this. The market ripped all morning, just a huge 2% from lows to highs. Buy program, absolutely nonstop, completely relentless. I'd say those are the hardest markets to trade, because when it's crashing, you can usually just momentum trade with the selling. This is one of those things where unless you bought something pretty much right off the open, or some sort of opening range, or something like that, if your stock is not going up with the market, I'd start to get a little worried about it, because the market's just done this crazy move. Now, I think these low float stocks are a little bit different, so I'm talking more of the larger cap guys. Yeah, and there was nothing really to play off of. There was no rest, there was no pullbacks, there was no flags, there was nothing. It was just buy it from the open, and away she goes, right?
Yeah.
Good day for opening range break. Absolutely. Right. These don't happen very often, that it's this kind of pain free where it just kept going.
And just to mention, for the orb trade, I think those are better on market turn opportunities, like Michael told you today, with an open near the low. So if you have a turn, those turning points are good areas to look for the orb trade, right? A lot of times strategies also depend on the current environment you're in, right? It's not just play the same strategy every single day. That's what I think is the real key to keeping data. And that's why you see Michael stress data so much, and different systems so much, because systems are going to outperform at different times. This is very important to understand.
Yeah, and you either need to try to predict when it's going to perform well, which I think is very,
Very
hard,
difficult. We can
but
both agree with
possible.
that, right?
Or you trade all of the systems all the time, which is the method that I've taken, right? And then you manage risk correctly, so that when method A is not doing well, hopefully system B is doing very well. And it's kind of like having two stocks where, say you have one stock that's going down and the other one stock that's going up. Your hope that the stock that's going for you, if you're managed risk correctly, is going for you better than the stock that's going against you. And it seems like that's one of those times where, again, predict it, or, again, in my opinion, trade as many systems as you can. This is where automated trading comes in. If you can trade 20 systems and most of them can work correctly all the time, and some of them will work better during other times, that's what I do with my swing trading, right? I have trend following systems, mean reverting systems, all that. The trend following systems are working great right now. The mean reverting systems aren't really getting much triggers or doing too much at all. And yeah, the UNH, someone was just mentioning. So close above VWAP at this point. I'm going to get back out just because it's not doing anything. I'll take my Tesla and be happy with it.
Yeah, not a bad one. UNH push. We'll see what
of a-
happens on that.
of a
I can't
fade.
touch this with a 10-foot pole, but I mean, if you guys want to trade it off the 1 hour 300, that's where I mentioned today that the buy could be the 300 spot. I've mentioned that that UNH undercut 300 is the area to look for now for it to hold. It looking well. It could keep climbing back. This is just not a knife that I can buy, guys. And day trading action, maybe you can go for it. I did definitely see on Thursday when we got that 250 cut, the buying program came on right when we were talking about it. And it was a buy program back on there. And I think that you can tell because the trend line hasn't broken and it's just keep buying on pullbacks. So as long as it gets back towards that momentum area, it's buying back. I think that, this is the concern with UNH. One bad news about the DOJ mentioned from Wall Street Journal, and this could easily be back down another 30%, 20%. So that's my problem with this play. I really don't like catching falling knives, but I can't blame for traders to go after it. There's money to be made there. It's just more if it's up your alley, right? That's just what it is.
Yeah, it's just whether you have a system. Right, I've got a lot of mean reverting systems. They do phenomenally, but you need to have them built and tested. And the thing that gets people in trouble with mean reverting is not that stocks don't mean revert, because they do. It's the kind of deer in the headlights look, right?
Agree.
It's like, if I loved it at 100, do I really love it at 90 kind of thing?
Yeah. All right, guys, back above $3 here. Will SYTA actually get the buys to get through the 313 area? I've been waiting. I'm waiting for this.
This was one of my favorite Brian Shannon quotes, right? Is if they don't scare you out, scare you out, which means you just consolidate sideways here for a while.
Yeah.
Which is kind of looks like what they're doing to you is they're trying to wear you out.
Oh, they're wearing me out already. I'm just at the point where I'm just sticking with the trade, right? Sticking to the levels that I gave myself. And from that, you just let the market do the work. Let it trade a bunch. Let all these traders keep trading, right? I mean, they keep trading. It keeps going 10,000 shares right around this area. Either there's a repeat seller at 314 and 313, or we're finally going to blow through them and squeeze them. So that's what I'm looking for. On the bigger time frames, you can see it too. You can see how it's right there for the push. Just can't get it right now. We'll see if it finally does get it here on like the push number 4. Yeah, this is push number 4.
PTIX recovered nicely, got back through VWAP there. So that one looks like it's doing well again. I thought when it just didn't try off the open and then gap down, that could have been a problem. But yeah, it's doing well. So some of these small caps might be perking back up a bit.
I can take a look at some of the stocks that have been doing well today. Of course, Pony back up, QBT actually coming back there. Quantum names starting to work their way back. So keep your eyes on those guys. We'll see what happens on some of those. Him's doing pretty good on that comeback, right? We'll see what happens on that. ZS is one that I'm keeping an eye on. CrowdStrike and Snow. That Snow move made it up to 183. It didn't do the 185, but it's been holding pretty well. Held that VWAP pullback also. SYTA, we'll see if we finally get the break. It's just hanging out here. Keeps stomping off of that 314 break. We've gone up here now 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So at this point, breaking 3 can definitely be the sign for me to get out. I'm in at 302. I got to hang in. I got to hang in and give it the shot, right? We'll see what happens. PTIX resumption. Let's take a look there at that one. PTIX on the upside as they came back to 7, ramping back. We'll see if it breaks through 9. Can we get a second halter? Can we get a SYTA halt? I know I won't be mad. We'll see what happens.
The right kind of halt.
Yeah,
you got to
right kind of halt.
specify.
The right kind of halt. The halt on the setup that we have right now. Because the setup looks good. The setup looks good. It's just more, will they take it, right?
Yeah, that looks very accumulation, right? You know, that somebody has been, they didn't want to chase the highs, so they waited for it to pull back. They started buying it. Is this another one of those? They're buying Pepe coin or something? Is that why this is
honestly, it's one of those where I'm not even looking at the catalyst to see if it exists.
Good.
But we can take a look.
Good. See, I'll get you at some point.
I mean, with the penny stocks, I usually definitely ignore anything. This looks like a gaming acquisition. So it's a SPAC, bro. What's up with that?
SPAC going up, man. You're fighting the odds there for sure.
Dude, I have a friend that's been pushing 2.0 SPAC moves, man. I don't know,
Chamath? Man. You buddies with Chamath?
Yeah, I'm buddies with another billionaire. Let's do it. I won't mind saying that. Chamath's money isn't small, at least.
No, he just got it off the back of those poor retail dudes buying SPACs.
He just doubled up.
Walk away.
I think he was really he was an early investor in something. I think it was either Microsoft or something.
Facebook. He was one of the Facebook guys. He worked with them, I think, too. I think he got a bunch of shares from.
What it would have been like to get some early Facebook shares, right? Whatever happened to MySpace, man? Those guys are kicking themselves.
Oh no, what was the MySpace? The main guy got like a huge buyout.
And then it just disappeared.
And then I think, was it Yahoo that bought it? Yeah, $500 million acquired by News Corporation in 2006. Yeah, the dude got like $150 million or something just to walk away.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. And he just took his 150 mil and just pieced out. And then they bought it. And I think they tried to run it for a little bit and just exploded.
All right,
happens
guys.
Quite a bit. Was Yahoo bought something and did the same thing too. So it's.
Yeah, at this point, is why you can't get through it, man. There's that repeat seller there, man. There's something at that 313. They don't want to get it through, bro.
Yeah, but is this one of those moments you hit you put even maybe a trailing stop or something out and
That's what
just
you.
and close your platform and see
Yeah.
what you got.
The key is on some of these, what you would do is a lot of times is put a break even right now, and then it's just going to hunt you because if you put a break even right now, I, I could almost, I would put the bet that I get stopped out on the break even, um, because it's just you're still within the range. So what you got to do here is just keep the risk that you established in the trade, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the important thing. Just keeping my 290 area. We haven't broken that 290 area. That's where I've been risking on in the first place. Just got to hang in there. Got to hang in there. And part of that
Well,
is not showing your hand. I think if you show your hand right now, you're going to get run over.
well, but that's why I was talking about a trail. So what you do
Yeah.
is if it's bumping against an area that it can't get through, you put the trail low enough so that it won't ever uptick unless they break through that zone. So you
Yeah.
have your risk permanently in place, and then if they break that zone, then your stop gets kind of ratcheted up with it. I've
Yeah.
done that a
So,
handful of times.
let's have some fun with it. Let's have some fun with it, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that mentality. We're getting the break right now, so at least a good look there as we get past the
See, we just
313. So
needed to
here's what
talk
he
about it.
means. Here's what he means. So you hit that trailing stop. Let's hit it. Boom. We just hit it right there. You have a click trailing stop right there on the charts. So just to give you guys a little chart outlook there on how you trade with this, right? I'm going to actually take the profits here for you guys to see it here. So let's go ahead and take 400 off here. Sell at ask. Let's try to do it here at 320s. I was trying to take some off at 320s. Let's see if we can break that 320s and just take some profits here. I could take 316s and 317s, right? That's also an option here. But trying to get the 320s. I'll take the 318s or 319s here. Boom. Just took some profits there. You guys watched the profits happen in real life. We still have the trailing stop on. That's the fun part. We have adjusted the coding on this so that you can still have your stop adjust there. So now I'm risking 50 bucks, probably the 50 bucks that I just made on that upside move. Let's see if this can actually really start to rip. And I still have the stop down there towards 293s, and I'm not touching it, and it's trailing, right? It's at 8 ticks now. We'll look to see if it can continue pushing. And there it is, guys. At least the trade on the mentality and the setup is there good. It was a 15-minute look for it to come back here. Now we'll look to see if it can just keep ticking off, right? Keep pushing to the upside. And you'll hear that sound, and I'll actually put the sound back on so you guys can hear the stop loss and the trailing kind of ticking. It has this noise that it goes with it. Every time it ticks up, it does a little you'll hear it in the background.
Yes, I remember I was trying a system that had a lot of trailing stops on it, and that drove me nuts.
Insane. Just
there's like 5 of them going at once. I'm like, no way. I'm definitely, when we get automated trading, I'm gonna probably be entering like 20 plus trades a day. I'm definitely muting the hell out of that thing. I don't want to hear it. Just I get it is very important, especially too for people who are doing other things while trading, right?
Yeah.
If you had one trade on, you minimize your system, you go about your day, you're doing emails or whatever, working your job, whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, so I get it for that, but for someone who's going to be trading a lot, which again, I'm very excited for. I'm going to be taking the trades that I've been talking about this whole time, and then I've got another couple systems that I've been testing that are going to go in there as well, and that would just drive me insane, just hearing that thing go all day. Same with, I keep talking about how the British guy is screaming in my ear. It's the same thing. I hear him going all day.
The Brits. The British are coming. The British are coming.
In my sleep, I hear that guy going.
Oh, you got Paul Revere yelling at you, man, in your sleep. The British are coming. The British are coming.
Yeah.
Palantir dropping fast here a little bit. I think we're starting to see a little bit of the slowdown of that momentum. I'm glad you were putting a little bit of that warning sign out there. Doesn't mean that we're going into a red trend. It just means that we're not just ripping like we did out the gates here. So it could just be kind of a lull for the rest of the day. Sideways, maybe small pullbacks at 590s is kind of what I see on the SPY. I wouldn't get bearish unless we do a big bar like 585 and break pre-market low, right? Pre-market low is where you'll get concerned again. That's 586.50s. And I'm giving myself 50 cents away from that to really show me that it would want to break down, which is a 585 breakdown. If that does happen by the end of the day, then yeah, you can get back into that sense. Other than that, you're still just kind of climbing the Moody wall, we'll call it. Definitely.
Yeah, 2% from the lows. It makes perfect sense that we're going to chill out here. That's a massive move just in the first hour of the day is 2% rip. And you just go, okay, well, now what? What do you expect? Another 2% on the market?
And I think today is the first day that I would say the opening move is not the sucker's move. This was the move probably for the day. And I think that we're starting to see maybe an adjustment there. Remember how for a while there, I felt like the first move kept being the sucker's move. We would sucker down and then go up. We would sucker up and then kind of pull back a little bit, then rip higher, right? So I think that we're starting to look to see if do we get these opening goes, and does that show that we have this momentum still on, right?
Yeah, and it's the only thing that makes me slightly nervous is that we have feds talking all afternoon. These Fed
they will
jerks
be
are
speaking,
yapping, and then
they
I
will
think
be
they
yapping
all day tomorrow too. So if there's something that's going to bring us down, it's going to be one of these guys who's right having a little chat with about how the world's coming to an end or something, and people believe them. So
that's a good sound to hear. Look, the stop's over break even, guys. Now we're watching for the 330 break. 330 breaks could get us into the 340s and 350s. I don't mind taking majority of it out as I get to 350s. I don't need to get to 355. Of course, it could break above that and go for a real continuation. But like I mentioned, today is a nice day to take a nice simple trade to start the week and continue going, right?
Yeah. It's these are the days I remember looking back at my career when I was a discretionary day trader. These are the days that would get me in trouble. You miss that opening move, and then you start to feel that FOMO of, man, the market ripped 2%. Look how much Nvidia. Look at all these things that ripped. Oh man, and then you felt the need to trade in the afternoon, and what ended up happening is you didn't get the opening drive, where all the money was made, and then you trade during the chop and you end up losing on a day that's just a massive push higher. So it's one of those where if you don't get the opening drive, you just kind of have to shake your head and say, figure out a way to be better prepared and set alerts or whatever it is, or just take the trade and then go move on to the next one, right?
Yeah, watching for the 90 and made a hold here on the 1. You saw me go from the 5 to the 1 there. And what am I going to look for? The momentum to stay strong. You guys know how I rely on that 90 MA line. A lot of the times, once I have breakout, I want to see that hold. It's okay to retrace to it because that's where pullback buys probably coming back in. But I'm looking for it to continue and holding that trend. It's okay. Slight undercuts. No close below that 90 MA right now because that will tell me a sign that I need to get out. Right. And you can see how the stop is starting to rise up. Now we're 4 ticks in the green. Right. So we're going to leave that on. And I'm also showing you guys hot buttons here. An example, live example of how you can use hot buttons on your charting on Trader Evolution for Trade the Pool. So you guys saw me close one there on the sell of the ask. Right. That's actually just moving it up based on the offer. Right. That's a good way of going and getting out and trying to get the majority of the move. Right. The bigger profit outlook. You can always sell on the bid, and that's probably going to be more instant. So like, let's say on a breakout right now, I could sell on a bid or sell market, right? Those two of these are limits. One of them is, of course, a market order. What I like is, and I've never done this before, but have you ever had a reverse button and actually used it? Now that's interesting.
I have, yeah. There's a couple bots that I built in, and that was actually one of the strategies. Is that it was a mean reverting strategy, and the idea is that if the stop happens so quick, like you're trying to buy something and it just continues just to completely tank, that you hit the reverse button and
there's a lot of algos that do that.
It's very mentally hard to do.
Mentally it's hard to do. Systematically, maybe you can get after it.
Yeah. Oh, and again, systematics, the way to go. We're back over 104 on Bitcoin, 104,000.
Okay, 104. Let's take a look at that. I've been having this SYTA
We
chart
can
up.
go.
Let's take a look right quick.
Yeah, we can do
Bitcoin.
So we do like I don't know, 1 hour. Oh, let's do 30-minute. Yeah, so we hit that low, we hit that bottom, and then a little bit of a double bottom there, and started just to rip higher. We have, the daily chart is, if you kind of ignore this pump, it looks like we're breaking back out of this range. And if we get it on Bitcoin, you can see a pretty big. It's 1, 2, 3 touches of this 105 to 110 area. Through there, that's new all-time highs. The last time we broke through, same kind of thing happened too, right? We had this pretty clear defined level that we hit a bunch of times. Then we hit it, and then we reversed right off it, and then ripped right through. And then that was like a 40% gain until we stopped. So I am very much watching. I have stop limits at over all-time highs at like 110. If we get through 110, that's where I want to get involved and see if I can get another 10-20% kind of rip from there in that. But then we also have the most important of all the cryptos that I am still in. It's the fart coin.
The fart.
It's
the coin.
It's holding
the coin.
So
the
strong.
Coin of all coins.
It's just it can't get it out. Now it did the same thing as Bitcoin, where it had a big run up and then it came back down to it, but it's holding that level. But just stair stepping higher. Consolidation, breakout, consolidation, breakout, consolidation, maybe another breakout. Again, the most hilarious thing will be if this thing hits 420 and then I sell.
That's where it's going to go,
level.
bro. That's where it's going to go. That's going to be the sell signal, the 420. Let's see.
You can trade sub pennies too, so probably. Oh, that looks great. And you still have the same trailing stop in there?
Yeah, same one, guys.
So,
just letting it work. Let it work. Another
the thing about those, especially with I'm just thinking with the penny stocks, like the thing you're doing, like no one would be shocked to see whatever the hell this thing is double from here, and having that mechanical trailing stop, it lets you, which would be hard, but all you got to do is have one of those every couple months, and ends up making for a really wicked trade. The only thing I will say is if you're on an eval, just remember the 50% rule, right? Always put out a stop or put out a target that's just under 50%.
Or you do what I did one time, Michael. I one time forgot about a trade, like just let it go kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna let it go. I had the stop play, so I didn't have to worry about it. But I was just like, I'm not gonna look specifically. By the time I looked back, man, I was up 1,700 and I can only make 1,200. So what did I do? I had buying power, so I added to the position at the wrong time.
Yeah, add on the rip until it comes back down to 12.
I sold on I started adding on rips, and then as soon as it pulled back, I took the profit on the stop loss.
Mm-hmm.
At where I need to take it. That's just one way to protect yourself. I'll always be giving you guys. There's nothing wrong with making too much money, but you always got to know what you need to do, right? We're playing the eValve game to get the funded accounts. Once you have funded accounts, you can just let it go, right? You can just keep making money. No one's going to get mad at you for making too much money in the funded account. Why? Because trade the pool makes money too, right? It's a split.
Yep.
There's a reason why it's a split, right? That's the difference between brokers and prop, right? I'm working on a video right now on that, and I think that's the biggest difference is that brokers have the incentive to go against you, just purely, no matter what.
Well, they want to keep you in cash, right? So the way a broker structure is set up is that if you have cash just sitting in your broker, they have that invested in T-bills making 4.5%, and then they're probably giving you 4%. So the broker would love if you deposited $1 billion and didn't do anything with it, because they just make money off that interest rate spread. I remember when I was working with fintech firms, going and talking to brokers and saying, "Hey, we have tools for active traders," and they go, "No, we don't want active traders." They're like, "We don't. Active traders are no good for
active traders."
we want the cash. We want them to sit on a whole bunch of cash. That's why they kind of like peddle fear about how the market's tanking, because they want to sit on the cash because they make that interest rate spread. And if you talk about it with someone like Interactive Brokers, it's like $1 billion or billions of dollars. I think probably closer to $1 trillion that they have sitting in cash. So if they're making 4.5% and they're paying you 4% and they're making that 0.5% on that money, they just want to keep that. There's no risk to them. You're not doing anything crazy. They just want to hang out. They just want to say, you know what? I'm just gonna. I want you to sit in cash. I don't want you to trade this money, because if you lose it, if you lose the money, I can't make the interest rate spread anymore.
So there you guys got the stop trail out there, and that's the market maker taking that cash right there. The slight underquick underneath the 9. I even gave it like a 1 tick to try to adjust it there. It could still recover this 9 and keep running. I'll always be as honest as I can. But I what I did like is I at least sold half of what I had on the breakout again, right? When I got another break back through this high, I sold some into that. At 338, so took another cash there, and then taking the cash out on that move. It's not a bad $200. Not a bad way to make $200 on this trade. It could have easily been, $400, $500, $600 winner if it breaks the high. So good trade there on SYTA, and I'm done for the day. Not a bad trade there. Got in here, right near the bottom, looking for the breakout. It kept kind of shaking here. Finally got the breakout. Took gains on what? On breakouts to the upside. That makes me happy. And then, of course, on the pullback, making sure that I'm at least taking some more and then getting out. Not a bad trade here on SYTA, and not a bad trading day for me, guys. I'll take it. And I'm up 200 with a loss this morning, right? A loss of 31 on that Corvo that I got out of. But good trade here. Overall, it was a little bit over 200, about, let's say, like 230 on the trade. Not a bad trade there, SYTA.
Especially for, again, just to reiterate so that the people don't feel bad, because we both did great today, this is probably the hardest market to trade, a market that just opens up and rips. So don't feel bad. It's a really hard market to trade. Guys. So if you survived, it's a good day, because now we are entering, just, you notice I haven't updated you guys on the market in forever, because it is slop mode. We've done nothing for the past half hour plus. And it's probably going to be that way, this kind of chop and slop back and forth type action, because we already had the move. We're up 2% off the lows. So now we're just waiting for things to happen. So I would bet it's probably going to be like that. You're probably going to get some activity when these Fed guys start yapping. But other than that, there's probably not a whole lot to do.
We'll wrap up with Paul's question here about fees on Trade the Pool. And these are the things that I look at all the time, guys. It's such a little amount. Like, look at me trading here today, guys. Even with all the fees that I did, it's about $10 that's taking off. It's about $1.50 per execution until I got to like 500. That got it to about 250. That's not too bad at all, guys. So if you're looking at that, I think I just focus on the net P&L. If I'm up, it'll cover a lot of those fees really quickly. And that's just a part of the game, as I like to always say. So definitely check it out, guys. Go to Trade the Pool. Take a look to see if it's something for you. Of course, we have multiple accounts, multiple ways. We have the Flex and the Max, and looking forward to making big announcements later this week, potentially. Tune in right here on Trade the Pool to find out, of course. So hit the like. It's good to see you, Paul, out there. Ali, everyone trading today. Big Me. Good look on that HIMS trade. Wish you the best of luck, man. Hope you killed it on that one. Steph, looking good with those scalps out there. I hope you're gone by now, but making that money like always. We're always here to help you guys. We're always here to root you guys on. So everybody that joined us this morning, it's good to see you guys out there. Shane, I hope you're killing it in those funded accounts. I always catch you guys in the chat. We love you guys for always hanging out with us every single day. And we're going to keep pushing right here on Trade the Pool. We'll be back like always. Michael, any level on upside break? Do you think that this could continue going, or do we just kind of start looking for a slowdown here?
I think the move's done. It's kind of choppy. If we go green today, then I think there's a lot of bears that will kind of cry uncle.
Okay.
But other than that, I think we're in chop mode. So
Well, there you guys see it. Have a good one, guys. Hit the like, and definitely Shishak saying stop loss isn't a limit order. It won't trigger in extended hours. Good reminder there, guys. Don't use that stop loss in after hours. A limit only. And so what I usually think of is I try to be at a size that if I do get slippage, I can not get destroyed, right?
Yeah.
After hours in pre-market, you have to understand that exists. So what you do is give yourself a little bit more slippage idea. If it slips 10 cents, is that going to be the end all be all, right? Things like that you need to be thinking about. Have a good one. Eldon in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing good on those swings. Always love to see your ideas, and we'll keep pushing right here on Trade the Pool. See you guys back tomorrow. And don't forget, I'm on Trader TV, 8:45, so we'll be starting up at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Steve and Michael Noss. See you guys back.